In the break, Senator Rick Santorum, a 2012 Republican presidential contender, we were talking about courage and whether people have the courage and looking to people of history to find it. Because it really, that's all it takes is to save our country, is somebody having the courage of their convictions.
Yeah, you just look at people throughout the history. I was remarking about one such man that I'm very familiar with, Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, who fought at the Battle of Gettysburg and led the 20th Maine, who was at the end of the Union line, and on the second-day battle, fought the advance to flank the Union line, would have cut off the Union Army from Washington, maybe defeated the Union Army at that very moment, and fired until he had no ammunition, and then ordered a bayonet charge down the hill, sacrificing everything, and captured the Confederates in a brilliant move and won the day. And 25 years later, he came and gave a speech right at that ground, and he talked about how. And he asked his men to sort of close his eyes and think about, here we are in this deathless field, and that people will come, people we don't know, but they'll come to see what we did here. And that's the purpose of life, is to live forever in the minds of people, to have sacrificed and served so people who we know not of will come here to remember what we did and be inspired by that.
You are... there's a lot of this audience, I'd say the vast majority of this audience will say, wow. By you saying that in today's world, you are going to be mocked relentlessly for saying that there is something, that someone will come. They'll mock you for that.
No, but that's, you know, Ronald Reagan, when he left office, he gave his farewell address. And the last thing he said as President of the United States in his farewell address was his concern about Americans not appreciating what America is, not understanding who we are, not being proud of what America is. You know this, Glenn. I know you've talked about this, that the worst subject in our school systems is not math and science. They complain about math and science scores, but it's not math and science. It's history. Americans and young people aren't being taught history. I was in Council Bluffs, Iowa a couple of days ago, and I talked about that. And a college professor who happened to be there, who teaches at Washburn University.
Was he wearing a Che shirt?
No, he was a conservative, believe me.
Really?
Yeah, he was a conservative.
He was the one.
Well, the one. Now, here's the interesting thing. He said, you know, you're right. He said, in my history class, introductory history class at the school, I pass out a citizenship test to every student who comes into my class, and I have them take it. He said, you know what the percentage of right answers is? 40%. 15% pass rate. 5% of kids in college.
How does America survive like that?
You can't survive. You can't survive.
So
and we have leaders. We have leaders who don't focus on.
No, we have leaders that, quite honestly, Rick, we have leaders that don't even admit it. They don't even see it. I can't tell you how many people I talk to in Washington all the time, and they're like, okay. I start talking about this. I mean, what part of this do you think is nuts?
Nothing.
Okay, all right.
It's true. I mean,
they
look,
talk about this, and I start talking to them about people that are teaching in schools, or I talk to them about the revolutionaries that are organizing in our own country, and their eyes just glaze, and they're gone. They're gone.
Look. There is an organized effort to try to change what America is. I mean, look, I always say when you go back and read Barack Obama's speeches during the last campaign, everybody focused on the hope and change. They didn't focus on the first 3/4 of the speech, which was a condemnation, not of George Bush, but of what America is. And he wanted to change America.
Fundamentally transform.
Fundamental change in America. And guess what? He's doing it. And we have, I think, thank God, people like you and others, the Tea Party, who have recognized how foundationally he wants to change this country. It's not surprising to see Time magazine talk about the Constitution, say how insignificant. I'm surprised they didn't throw the Declaration in for good measure.
Okay, well, they dismissed that. Can I tell you something? It's not a surprise that Time is running this, seeing that Barack Obama and George Soros' good buddy Fareed Zakaria this last weekend did a piece on how outdated the Constitution is, and we should be more like Iceland, which is just, ready? Rewriting a new constitution through Facebook.
No.
Why not?
Why
have Madison?
You're making that
when
up.
you have Facebook.
You're making that
swear
up.
to you.
Oh,
I swear to you. So now it's a coordinated effort, and here we have in or it appears to be happenstance. Here we have in this article, I actually have it highlighted here. We have in this article a few things that I have to read to you. One of the last paragraphs in it, we can pat ourselves on the back of the last 223 years, but we cannot let the Constitution become an obstacle to the U.S.'s moving into the future.
It sounds like the Supreme Court. I mean, it really does. It sounds like what we've been seeing from our courts, which see the Constitution as this outdated document, and that we have to have this living, breathing Constitution. We have to have something that we can pull from international law, or something we can pull from, well, from our hearts that we know to be true.
What is the meaning of the Constitution?
I always say the Constitution is the owner's manual of America. That it sets up a government whose sole purpose, in my opinion, is to protect life and liberty. That's the purpose of the Constitution, is to make sure that you and everyone here in America.
I don't know why you would
free.
say that our liberty is at stake, or our lives at stake. I don't know if you saw the TSA in completely unrelated news. TSA today, by the way, has selected the airport screeners. They're being organized by the AFL-CIO. That's going to be good, isn't it?
Yeah.
When we come back, I want to ask you just a little bit more about this.
Sure.
This is what they say, that the framers didn't see these things coming. So how would you address that? Back in just a second.